Welcome to Techstars New York City Demo Day.
What a great experience we had with Techstars this summer in 2020.
Techstars was like a military SWAT training for us, and I know what I mean because I'm Russian.
We climbed Anthills and we carpe diem with all of you Radish people.
We've grown a lot, we've learned a lot, but most importantly, I've learned how to get my light right. Oh yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Techstars, for turning our business upside down in the best possible way.
Thank you, Techstars, for opening Cabinet up to so many awesome mentors and opportunities.
The support from the mentors and getting to know the other founders has been incredible.
I just want to thank all the Techstars team, especially Jenny, Ty, Joe, Ilsa, and Sharon for all their hard work and help.
Thank you, Techstars, for everything.
We're incredibly grateful to Jenny and all that she's been able to provide us and for guidance. And of course, our Monday metrics meetings really help push us forward.
And to the rest of the associates, thank you guys so much for all your hard work. It does not go unappreciated.
You have really done a good job with us, and I'm proud of what we have become in 3 months. Really thankful.
What are you most excited for after the pandemic?
Techstars 2020 reunion.
The reunion! Woo!
Congratulations, founders. Welcome to Techstars New York 2020 Demo Day.
Welcome to Techstars New York City Demo Day. I'm Jenny Fielding, the managing director of the program. Now, ordinarily, I'd be at a big theater with hundreds of people in the audience. There'd be founders, there'd be mentors, there'd be investors. But as we know, this is no ordinary year. So instead, my audience is the city of New York, which is actually a great backdrop to introduce our incredible founders. From fintech to future of work, education to healthcare, these companies are working to change the future and the world, and we couldn't be more excited for you to meet them.
Hi, I'm Ty Hutchinson, Program Manager for Techstars New York City. Jenny and I would like to take a moment to thank everyone who made our program this summer possible. We'd really like to thank our mentors who helped us this summer with mentor office hours. We'd also like to take the time to thank all of our global network partners this summer. And thank you so much to all of our associates that really made all of this possible. We want to thank Joe, Pablo, Stephanie, Ilsa, Sharon, and Sophia. Without you, we couldn't have made this happen. Thank you so much.
Before we meet the companies, let's welcome David Cohen, the co-founder of Techstars, to say a few words. Welcome, David.
Thanks, Jenny. I wish I could be with you in New York City. It's one of my favorite places in the world. You know, I lived there in 2011 when we got the Techstars program off the ground. I spent half a year there with my family. Just a great experience to be in the city. You know, since then, almost 10 years later, there are now 150 or so Techstars New York companies. I mean, that by itself is amazing. Great companies like Latch and ClassPass and Chainalysis and Plated and so many more that have been through the programs in New York, have gone on to do amazing things. It's really awesome to see how in 10 years or almost 10 years, so much can change. And it's really the support of the community that blows me away every time. The angel investors, the mentors who show up, the venture investors in town, and everybody around the system just does so much to help these companies succeed. So, you know, that's what we love to do here at Techstars, is figure out how to have everyone be able to contribute to the success of these entrepreneurs that we work with. And also when they do succeed, hopefully that they all benefit from that as well, because we know that, you know, entrepreneurs create a better future for all of us. So with that, I want to welcome the Techstars 2020 New York class.
Hi, my name is Kavana, founder at Coverr. Over the last 10 years, I've underwritten over $1 billion worth of specialty lending product, which has helped me to identify the highly underserved financing needs of gig economy workers, like our client, Rosemary. Rosemary is a seasoned Uber driver with over 5,000 rides under her belt, but when she needs cash to support her ongoing business needs, she gets declined. This happens because she doesn't meet the underwriting criteria used by traditional banks. Not having the funds to keep her car on the road means not having the ability to reliably feed her family. She's not alone in this challenge. There are over 1.4 million ride-sharing drivers currently operating in the United States who represent just a portion of the over 50 plus million participants in the general gig economy, expected to grow by 50% in the next 10 years. Collectively, this represents a $4.6 billion fee income opportunity, and that's why we created Coverr. Using traditional and non-traditional factors, we provide a fast and reliable source of capital for gig economy workers. Customers are able to access our service through a simple 5-minute application where they can receive up to $1,500 in less than 24 hours. To date, we've issued well over $250,000 to our well-deserving clients and maintained a portfolio non-payment rate of less than 5%. So if you're excited as we are about uncovering a high-value yet underserved market opportunity, let's work together so that we don't miss out on the millions of other great clients just like Rosemary. Thank you.
I grew up in a small town in Russia and dreamed of seeing the world. Only problem, I had no money, no resources, and no network to help me. And then, after many years of hard work and also some luck, I managed to study for free in Spain, China, and Stanford. And this has changed everything for me. And I realized that I want to dedicate my life to help other people to experience what I did. Hi, my name is Dasha, CEO and founder of Studyfree, an online platform that connects students with international opportunities worldwide. How it works? Studyfree combines and unifies all fragmented pieces of information that exist online on how and where to study abroad on a scholarship. First, we match students with international opportunities. Then, we facilitate and accelerate the entire application process. Without Studyfree, an average of 10% of people get accepted into a program. And by using Studyfree, 98% of students got successfully accepted. More than 2 million students get into colleges abroad every year, making this a $15 billion market opportunity for us. Since launch, more than 32,000 students have accessed over 4 million scholarships by using Studyfree. Studyfree has generated over $1 million in revenue in this business and ramping up quickly. Last month alone, we made $130K in monthly revenue with more than 70% margin. During Techstars program, we focused on scaling up platform beyond Russia, and we managed to generate 30% week-over-week growth in 4 international markets. We're a passionate team of engineers and marketers who have studied around the world, and now we are democratizing international education for everyone.
Buying health insurance does not buy you health. Employers used to think that purchasing insurance is all you need to ensure your employees remain healthy. But in reality, health-related productivity loss is estimated to cost U.S. employers more than $530 billion a year. In addition to health insurance, employers today need to provide convenient health care to ensure a healthy and productive workforce. Hi, my name is Viral Patel, and I'm the founder of Radish Health. Let me show you how it works. We start with regular digital health screenings where employees can tell us how they're doing each day. If needed, whether it's for the flu, mental health, or COVID-19, our partner physicians are able to quickly offer care. We offer same-day virtual visits for medical or mental health concerns. Additionally, we can offer scheduled routine care like physicals and flu shots right at the workplace. Because we have access to the health screening, care, and testing data in real time, we're able to monitor individual and population health to create actionable items on the Radish Health dashboard. Over the last few months, we've seen a big increase in interest for our outcomes-driven product and are currently working with and have a pipeline of tech companies, restaurants, and even municipal governments. We hope you can join us on this journey to change healthcare. Thank you.
%80 of the global workforce is deskless. That's 2.7 billion people who don't work from an office. Yet despite this massive number, there are no scalable products designed to effectively understand this population of workers. While the absence of these tools impacts employees themselves, their lack of growth can be detrimental to companies. It is estimated that low engagement costs employers $7 trillion per year globally. I'm Muriel Clausen, CEO and co-founder of Anthill. My co-founder and I met as PhD students studying artificial intelligence and the future of work. After years working with world leaders in this space, we realized there was a need for a more strategic tool for talent. So we launched Anthill, the first talent mapping software. Our talent map is possible thanks to a machine learning-enabled user experience that is fun and impactful. Our users download a mobile app that was designed deskless first. Each day, the user is asked just 3 simple questions and is then rewarded with an insight into how they can develop. On the back end, our machine learning technology is able to predict a wide range of characteristics and skills an individual is likely to have. It is because of this that we are able to deliver a comprehensive map of the talent in an organization from so little input. After launching our first version of our product this month, we already have active paid pilots with large enterprises and large manufacturing companies. Engagement is most challenging for deskless and remote workers, and these employees sit across almost all industries. This year, it became all of us. It is now more critical for the management team to oversee the entire workforce effectively and efficiently. It is a critical time for Anthill.
Hi, I'm James Weitzman, co-founder and CEO of OneSM, which stands for One Sales and Marketing Team, the way it should be. We're on a mission to help go-to-market teams of B2B SaaS companies collaborate seamlessly through data. By using machine learning to intelligently combine data sets, OneSM integrates with all the disparate data sources across your RevOps stack, cleanses the data on the back end, and provides the single source of truth that sales and marketing teams have been waiting for. The result? Millions of marketing dollars saved, tens of thousands of hours saved, and hyper acceleration of your pipeline. Here's how it works. First, integrate with your CRM, marketing automation platform, sales outbound tool, and ad networks. And within minutes, receive data-driven recommendations and insights on who your buyer personas actually are, what content resonates with each buyer persona, and on what channel you're most likely to get those personas to convert on. All with customizable filters around industries, locations, company size, and more, allowing you to personalize messaging at scale faster than ever before. Since we began talking with prospects just 6 weeks ago, our beta customers include some of the fastest growing SaaS companies in the US, and these are just the ones that we can show. We're a passionate team of engineers, builders, sales professionals, and more who are on a mission to help go-to-market teams at software companies work better together through data. Remote work has only accelerated the need for a product like ours. Help us change the future of B2B go-to-market forever by transforming revenue-generating teams into one sales and marketing team. Thank you.
Today, 1/3 of the American workforce participates in the so-called gig economy, up 22% from just last year. That is 57 million highly skilled professionals trying to monetize their time. However, these professionals spend over 6 hours every week on admin tasks, such as scheduling appointments, writing emails, sending invoices, and making sure they get paid. Hi, I'm Suzanne, CEO and co-founder of Meetfox, where we help freelance professionals digitize their business in a matter of minutes and ensure that they spend time on what matters most. We enable online scheduling, instant payments, seamless video calls, and invoicing in one product that can be plugged in on any website with a single line of code. Placed on a website or social media channel, Meetfox helps professionals convert prospects into paid meetings at the peak of their interest. With Meetfox, customers can schedule and pay for a meeting in 2 clicks, and then once scheduled, the video call starts right on the professional's website without having to download anything. And when the call is over, an invoice is sent and the money is received instantly. And this is how easy meetings should be in the 21st century. With the vision to become the Shopify for professional services, we've already helped over 9,000 coaches, consultants, and other experts make the expertise available at the push of a button. And this has earned us over 180,000 in the last 6 months without spending on advertising. So if you are passionate about shaping the future of work with us, a virtual coffee meeting with me is just a click away via my Meetfox booking link.
Two summers ago, I was nervously purchasing an emergency contraceptive at my local CVS. I've had severe side effects from birth control before, and I had zero understanding of what this medicine would do to my body. That day, I frantically searched for answers on Google, WebMD, various forums, but the only helpful, albeit unqualified, information I could find was from my friends and co-workers. One of those co-workers was Divya Singh. She had previously spent several years at ZocDoc, and together we quickly discovered that millions of other women were also relying on Dr. Google, along with quiet conversations with their friends. That's why we left our jobs at Away to start Diem. We set out to build a personalized digital platform for women's health, providing evidence-based knowledge and a supportive community for women. We want women to feel emboldened in pursuing their chosen health journeys and have the information that they need to make those informed decisions. So, let me show you how it works. This is Diem. Here, you'll see our knowledge feed. In this feed, women can engage with expert-approved content on all areas of their health. Now you'll see our community hub. This is the heart of Diem, where women can meet each other, share their experiences, join events with experts, and access the power of collective knowledge. As for our go-to-market plans, we're focused on the growing demographic of younger millennial women and the women's health brands that are increasingly looking outside of existing social media to other platforms where they can host private communities in order to drive audience engagement on their own terms. We plan to charge brands and creators for hosting these communities on our platform, and access to consumers will always be free. We launched Diem into the world just a few weeks ago, and we were blown away by the overwhelming excitement and response. We have 15,000 women signed up on our waitlist and over 900 active users in our public beta. The first 7 brands and creators are also signed on to launch their homes. So, are you ready to push women's health forward? We thought so. It's time to join Diem.
Hi. Painful fact. For most companies, integration to financial services is no picnic. I'm Ope Adeoye, founder at OnePipe, which provides the critical infrastructure necessary to allow millions of businesses and individuals to do what they do best without getting bogged down by the headache involved in integrating financial services into their workflows. We take that aspect of their worries away. We've built an easy-to-access platform that significantly reduces these integration headaches by partnering with banks and larger organizations. This allows integrations to go from months to as short as 3 days. Let me show you how simple the OnePipe approach truly is. First, we created a catalog of carefully defined services that represents the full suite of what is possible in the financial services space. Then, we created a uniform and open API specification and standard. Next, banks and partners grant us access to their APIs, or we build for them where they don't have. And then, we totally simplified what it takes to get onboarded to bank and partner APIs, cutting out lost time in administrative processes. Our customers are then able to access as many APIs as possible from as many providers as possible, but unified by a simpler and smoother experience and specification. Now, innovators in Nigeria have the tools they need to take their products to market more effectively.
Hi, I'm Julia Hawkins, and I started my career off as an executive assistant. On a regular day, I was calling restaurants looking for private dining rooms, testing products to find the best software, and mapping out the fastest international travel routes. But I didn't have anywhere to look for these answers, so I reinvented the wheel. Cabinet is the hub where executive assistants can access, share, and discover insider information they can't find anywhere else. It has become a trusted resource for over 3,000 executive assistants from Fortune 500 companies like Facebook, Disney, and Salesforce. Cabinet has 2 tiers. Our free tier gives assistants immediate access to our community forums where they can ask questions, gut check their decisions, and gain insider knowledge from peers. Our premium tier focuses on data-driven solutions that help executive assistants be more efficient. Next month, we'll be rolling out a new scheduling tool. Scheduling meetings is the bane of everyone's existence, but we have figured out a way to help assistants save hours in the process every week scheduling meetings. Our freemium model makes Cabinet accessible to all assistants regardless of their budget. It is free to join the community, but if you would like to upgrade to the premium tools, it costs $20 a month. Today, 500 EAs are monthly active members of our community, and already 10% of these users have converted to the premium tier. We are starting by focusing on the executive assistant market, but plan to shortly after expand to the larger 9 million person administrative professional market. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Matt Hallett, co-founder and CEO here at Botany. Our team has decades of years of experience in software engineering. And over the years, we've learned that scaling engineering teams to be effective, engaged, and happy is incredibly hard work. But it's even worse when you don't do it. There's 24 million software engineers globally. Turnover is a $300 billion a year problem in lost opportunities and inefficiencies. More than half the time, developers cite lack of career growth, poor dev culture, and a lack of an engagement with an available manager as a primary reason for exiting. Enter Botany. It's like a personal trainer or a Fitbit, but for dev teams. We listen to signals that come from platforms like GitHub and Jira. We send out personalized nudges and insights through tools like Slack. We increase team productivity and happiness by building habits, unblocking workflows, and improving team culture and getting real-time feedback. Teams use Botany as a way to get personalized insights on many different engineering behaviors, coding habits, issue management, responsiveness, workflow participation, just some of the areas of examples. Like a personalized assistant, Botany looks for opportunities for growth across all engineering workflows. We solicit real-time feedback from around work from mentors and peers to ensure that everyone on the team is performing at their best. And we help managers provide feedback and praise, unblocking the team, and we head off problems before they become emergencies. Botany is superpowers for engineering managers. We help them to retain and build a positive dev culture so each team can reach their maximum potential. We launched paid betas 10 weeks ago. We have 200 devs across 12 companies onboarding and using the product. Come and join our vision of highly effective, engaged, and happy programming teams. Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap. Huge congratulations to the Techstars New York 2020 class. And stick around because Brad Feld and I will be talking about building communities.
Brad is one of the founders of Techstars and also Foundry Group, and he's joining us for a discussion on startup communities as part of Techstars New York City Demo Day. So welcome, Brad.
Thanks for having me, Jenny.
Awesome. So I'd love to kind of take a step back. My journey in the startup world started in 2006 in New York City when I started my first startup. And basically people thought I was crazy, and everyone said, if you're going to build a tech startup, you need to move to San Francisco. You have an interesting story in that you also moved from the East Coast to Boulder, which was, I guess, a pretty sleepy town and during that time. So I'm curious what you saw in the early days that got you excited to set up Foundry there and kind of get going.
Yeah, so I moved to Boulder from Boston in 1995. And when I moved to Boulder, I had no expectation of doing business in Boulder. I'd sold my first company. I was an angel investor. I was investing my own money, $25,000 to $50,000 at a time, and crisscrossing the country because I was in Boston at the time and flying to California and going to Seattle and coming back to Boston and going to New York. And I mean, that was kind of my drill. And I'd end up in random places, Kansas City or Dallas, and make some angel investments in different places. And my wife, Amy Batchelor, one day, 2 months before I turned 30, told me she was moving to Boulder and I could come with her. So it created and reinforced a deeply held belief of mine, which is choose where you want to live and build your life around it rather than go somewhere for a job. And a very natural place for us to move would have been the Bay Area. But I've been to the Bay Area a lot and it didn't feel like home. And I couldn't have described why in 1995. Today I can describe why pretty easily. And so, moved to Boulder. And pretty shortly after the move, I started looking around. I was in Boulder some. Obviously, I wasn't traveling all the time. And I just wanted to find some other entrepreneurs. And it was easy to find some other entrepreneurs. And it turned out there's a lot of entrepreneurial activity going on. It was just very diffuse. The networks weren't linked together very well. And, there were a few people that everybody knew, but there's a lot of stuff just kind of going on in corners here and there. And, that began what, has been a very long personal journey now over 25 years around the idea that not only can you build startup communities anywhere in the world, every city in the world that has at least 100,000 people should have a startup community. It's an important part of the fabric of the city. And, huge cities like New York or Boston, in some ways, it's easier to understand that and understand what to do. But you even think about it going back to 2006. I think about 2009, 2010 when Techstars expanded to New York. Like things were happening again, but it was still pretty nascent in terms of all of the linkages versus where things are 10 years later. But then that same principle applies to, Des Moines, to Boise, to Dallas, Texas. Pick your place. And then go globally as we've democratized entrepreneurship around the world. Every city around the world that has, again, at least some critical mass of people, you should be able to build vibrant startup communities.
Yeah, amazing. So David Cohen always talks about these random days that you used to have and how he met you at a Feld random day, and that was kind of the catalyst for Techstars. So how do random days fit into that idea of tapping into a network or creating a network?
Well, it's super important that the phenomena of the startup community be a bottom-up system, right? You're trying to build a network organically rather than dictate or design something from the top down. In the new book that I just wrote, The Startup Community Way, we use the idea of complex adaptive systems, which we shorten to complex systems, and complexity theory to describe how this works. And if you don't know anything about complexity theory, I'll do a 60-second example of 3 types of systems: simple, complicated, and complex. A simple system is making a cup of coffee. You put beans in, you get coffee out. Might not be very good coffee, but it's a deterministic system. There's a couple of steps. There's a playbook. A complicated system is doing your monthly financials. You do a bunch of steps. They don't have to be in a particular order. But there's a sequence of steps, and you get out a balance sheet, an income statement, a cash flow statement, and it happens month after month after month. There's a deterministic outcome. A complex system is raising a child. There's no deterministic system. Like everybody here has been a child or is raising a child. Like if you tell the child that when they're born, here's the roadmap, here's the playbook, and when you're 25 years old, this is exactly what everything's going to look like, pretty much the only thing you're doing is setting that child up for a lot of therapy. Startup communities are complex systems. You don't have a deterministic outcome. And so the randomness is super important. These sort of collisions between people that are different, that have different frames of references, that are doing different things, that come from different perspectives is an essential part. So what I did for a while in Boulder, and I did it for probably about 4 or 5 years till I burnt out on it. It's not something you have to do your whole life. Is I had once a month, I had random day. And the random day is 15-minute meetings, and those 15-minute meetings could go on 10 or 12 of them a day. I had an online calendar. This was in the 2005, 6, 7, 8 timeframe. It filled up a couple of months in advance, and people would just come in. Sometimes I'd do it in a coffee shop, sometimes do it in my office. They'd come in, they'd sit down. I had a timer in front of me. I said, next 15 minutes belong to you. Let's go. And sometimes people would just want to meet me. Sometimes it would be a networking thing. Sometimes they'd be looking for a job. A lot of times they wanted to talk about something specific. And my goal was to do 2 things with each random day. One was learn one thing. So for each 15-minute segment, I wanted to learn one thing. And I would say I almost always learned at least one thing. Every now and then there'd be 15 minutes that would go by, and like it was just a really uncomfortable, awkward, difficult to extract. But I got a lot of learning. The other was to figure out one thing I could do for the person that was meeting with me. One introduction I could make, one thing I could buy from them, one idea that I could give them that would help their business forward. And out of those random days, those 5 years of random days, came a number of really interesting things, including some investments. And one of them was Techstars, because David Cohen met me on a random day. It took him about 3 months to meet me. And we sat down, and within about 5 minutes of him describing, what became a Techstars Accelerator, my reaction was, this is awesome, I'm in. And, we went from there.
It's awesome. Such a great story. I can hear it over and over. So it really, really resonates with me. I remember in startup communities, you talk about the Boulder Thesis. And so kind of part of what you just described of, it being run by founders or entrepreneurs also really resonated with me. How did you kind of come up with what the components of the thesis were?
Yeah, so I came out with the Boulder Thesis in 2012 in the first book, Startup Communities. And it came from my framing that the idea of a startup community didn't exist. The language didn't exist, and people would call them lots of different things: innovation clusters, research this or that. Occasionally, you'd hear innovation ecosystem, or you'd hear entrepreneurial ecosystem. I mean, these were messy words that people didn't, entrepreneurs didn't really respond to, founders didn't respond to. And so I came up with this construct, labeled it startup community. And I said, the startup community has one goal, and that goal is to help entrepreneurs succeed. And in the new book, we actually differentiate between a startup community and entrepreneurial ecosystem, because that startup community has one goal, is to help entrepreneurs succeed. The entrepreneurial ecosystem can have multiple goals. So for me, sort of at the essential element, the help entrepreneurs succeed then defines the characteristics that you need to start with and the behaviors that you need to have to help entrepreneurs succeed. And that became the Boulder Thesis. And that's not again, a playbook or a rule book. It's just a set of principles. And those principles are, the first is that you have to have entrepreneurs as leaders. If you don't have a critical number of entrepreneurs as leaders, a critical mass of entrepreneurs as leaders in your startup community won't go anywhere. You can have lots of other actors. And now we have another type of leader that we call instigator, which is somebody who works for an organization that's helping or supporting the startup community or the entrepreneurial ecosystem. Those instigators are leaders as well. But you have to have individual people who are entrepreneurs playing these leadership roles. Second is that you have to take a very long-term view. And I used to say at least 20 years. Now I say you have to take a 20-year view into the future. So if we're in 2025, you got to be thinking forward to 2045, not thinking forward to 2020. We're in 2020, not 2025. You have to be thinking forward to 2021. I should footnote that is that I have decided that I'm living in 2025. I haven't enjoyed 2020 very much, and I just decided to fast forward to 2025. And it changes when you sort of say, okay, well, what do you want, 5 years in the future, your life to be? I'm in my mid-50s. That's caused me to have to make some big shifts about how I think about my time. If you put yourself 20 years in the future, right, and think about 2040, like, what does that look like? That's second. You have to have a long-term view. Third is you have to be inclusive of anyone who wants to engage at any level. Today, the notion of inclusivity and DEI and equity is thankfully front and center in the conversation. In 2012, it wasn't on any dimension, gender or racial equity, but also ageism, ableism. Like, none of these things were really part of the conversation. And I was trying to put very strongly forward, look, anyone who wants to get involved in the startup community, if you want to be successful, embrace them, welcome them in, give them agency, let them be part of it. And then the fourth is you have to have activities and events that engage the entire entrepreneurial stack continually. And in sort of the mental model of this in 2012 was, I wrote the book 2010, 2011. We were just starting to see accelerators. Startup Weekend had become a thing. You were starting to see more and more activity in lots of places, but people were still looking for, like, well, we need one of these, and we need a this, and we need a that, versus just understanding, no, just do a bunch of stuff. And anybody who wants to do things, be inclusive, let them be leaders. Don't try to control, don't try to organize, don't try to centralize through the university, don't try to centralize through city government. Just do. And things will evolve very quickly from there. The last comment I'll make on the network is, and this comes from all of that thinking then and is really clear now in the startup community way. One of the mistakes when I reflect back on the last decade is, as people are trying to build startup communities in their cities, they get very, very focused on measuring things. We have a chapter in the book called The Measurement Trap. And the problem is that everybody subscribes to this thesis of, if you don't measure it, you can't manage it. That's not the thesis. The thesis is you have to measure the right things to be able to manage them. And the right things or the correct things is key, because the measurements that people tend to measure around startup communities and entrepreneurial ecosystems are the easy things, not the important things. The important thing is the connection between the parts, not the parts themselves. So we end up in these cycles where we're measuring the parts rather than focusing on the interaction between the parts. We focus on measuring how many followers we have, how many likes we have as individuals, rather than looking at the connections we have and the value of the information that goes across those connections. We have a few connections with tons of value. We're not that valuable to the startup community. Tons of connections with no value. We're not that useful to the startup community, right? It's the multiple of those things. That's really hard to measure. And that comes back to Random Days, where we started, was by being accessible to anyone for a short period of time. And by deliberately in those moments, trying to learn something and trying to be helpful, I created a lot of connections, many of them which didn't have a lot of value that transferred, but some that did. And the ones where the value did, that value started to transfer, and that behavior started to transfer across the startup community. And that's when you really get a very powerful flywheel going.
And also goes back to one of your principles about not having, not trying to control it too much, right? Which I feel like we see so much. Someone kind of wants to own this part of it, and that really sucks out the creativity, it seems.
It does. It's very hard. It's very hard for organizations, and this is why I now separate between organizations and people. Right? People are the leaders. They're either entrepreneurs or they're instigators. Organizations are feeders. They play a very important role, but they can't do what they naturally want to do. Organizations try to organize things. The startup community doesn't want to be organized. A complex system doesn't want to be organized. It evolves, it changes. The inputs become outputs that become new inputs. Yeah, time matters. It travels over time. But there's not this like, and then you did B, and then you did C, and then you did D, and then you did E.
So we have a lot of viewers tuning in really from all over the world. And
hello, viewers.
Say hello. I'd love for you to just give, one or two key takeaways for people that aren't living in tier 1 or tier 2 tech cities and they're excited about cultivating their communities. Aside from, I'll give you a little plug, reading the book.
Oh, thanks for the advertisement. Hold it up longer. You should hold it up so people can actually available at all online booksellers. Two quick things. Number one, do stuff. Don't wait for permission. Don't look for somebody to say it's okay. Don't try to find where it fits in. If you're interested in something, obsessed about something, curious about something, just do stuff. And if it doesn't work, learn, do more, and keep going. So the really interesting thing and the really important thing to sort of evolve from all of these pieces is part of the thing that causes amazing stuff to happen is lots of people doing things without knowing where they're going to end up, right? So to some degree, it's essence of give first, like you're willing to put energy into the system without knowing what's going to come out. It's not altruism. You expect to get something, but you just don't know when, from whom, over what time period, sort of in what consideration, et cetera. But it's a really, really important thing to drive hard for. And I think in the context of driving hard, the second thing happens, which is be willing to try things that don't work. Be willing to make mistakes and just be visible and own them and be patient about them.
Thanks so much for joining us at Techstars New York City Demo Day. And guess what? Our applications are open for our next program, which will start in March. So check out our website to find out all the info. See you soon.